Hello everyone. Public accounts for the year 2022 are progressively unveiled by the national authorities, and one observation is emerging for southern European countries, whether it's in Greece, Spain or Portugal. The situation improved again significantly last year. Despite the inflationary shock and the budget measure put in place by the governments to offset that shock, the upturn in activity and employment, which was better than expected, contributed to a strong increase in tax revenues. The consumer price inflation and, to a lower extent, wage inflation also boosted tax receipts. Public expenditure also increased significantly last year as a result of all these measures put in place, but to a slower pace than revenues. In a nutshell, the primary deficit in Greece went down to 300 million euros in 2022 compared to 1.5 billion in 2021. Growth activity for the fourth quarter of 2022 will only be published on the 7th of March, but it's already clear that the primary deficit to GDP fell below 1% last year compared to a deficit of 5% of GDP in 2021. Also, in Portugal, the country recorded a primary surplus of 3 billion euros in 2022, which would translate to a primary balance to GDP ratio above 1%, while actually the country was recording a deficit of 0.8% of GDP in 2021. In Spain and Italy, the situation is also toward an improvement in the budget balance. If we include interest payment, all these countries are still recording a budget deficit, but this latter is also reducing significantly. Indeed, the recovery in activity and employment explains a large chunk of this improvement. For example, employment increased by 5% in Greece last year. It increased by 4% in Spain and by 2% in Portugal. This improvement in public finances is providing a more fiscal leeway for governments to pursue budget measures in 2023 in the context where the trajectory in inflation within the Eurozone remains uncertain. Key measures have already been taken at the beginning of this year. For example, in Spain and Portugal, the minimum wage have been raised by 8% and 6%. Also in Greece, the minimum wage have been raised by 10% over the course of last year. Another increase is expected in April. Of course, the marked slowdown in economic activity expected in 2023 within the Eurozone will not spare Southern European countries. Nonetheless, and as stated in the European Commission in its latest forecast released on the 1st of February, Southern European countries should record growth above the Eurozone average, which is expected to be 0.9%. To conclude, after the COVID-19 crisis, which led to a brutal increase in public debt across all European countries, the fear that the situation will repeat again as a result of the war in Ukraine and the inflationary shock was legitimate. Nonetheless, for Southern European countries, this scenario has not materialized yet. That's it for me. Thank you for watching this EcoTV Week. See you next week for a new video. Bye-bye.